What is up, you guys? Teller checking in for the recap of UFC Sao Paulo. It was another profitable night. You guys know we've been absolutely killing it the second half of this year. Again, we had a little bit of a rough start, which was very rare for me, especially over the last 3 to 4 years. I had that little bit of a rough start, but boy, have we ironed things out in the second half of this year. So if you guys are keeping track, just a lot of profitable nights stringing off. We profit 4.55 units on this card. That's a solid amount of intake coming in there as far as the units go. That's some good money. I only had one official play. If you guys didn't know that already, I only had one official play in this card. It was a 2-team parlay. For those of you guys that don't know the play, if you don't follow me on Instagram at MMA Fortune Teller _. I won't give you a spoiler here. We'll go through these fights, and as we get to the action, we'll talk about it there. So in the first fight, Mark Diakase takes out the UFC newcomer in Kawi Fernandez. It was a split decision victory for him. It shouldn't have been a split decision victory. It should have been a unanimous decision. In fact, I think you could definitely argue he should have won every single round. Maybe you could have argued that Fernandez took one of those earlier rounds, but Diakase used the wrestling once again. That's what he does. You guys know I've been giving him a hard time as of recently or over the past couple of years based on the way that he's changed so much with his fighting style. Just loves to drag guys down to the mat and kind of hang on and try to sneak out a decision. So listen, he's getting the job done. He's getting victories. But I will warn him or warn fans of Mark Diakase, as soon as he starts to take a couple L's, he will be snipped by the UFC very quickly. That's how Dana White and the UFC brass rolls. They don't like that type of fighting style. It's one thing if you want to use the grappling, but you got to be trying to inflict more damage going for the finish. I really believe Diakase likes to just kind of, I don't want to say lay and pray, but he just likes to kind of nullify them down in the mat and snag rounds. I'm not a fan of it, especially when you just think about how exciting Diakase was when he first bursted on the scene, the potential he had, and just the way that he went complete 180. It's a little tough there. All right, now we're talking some official action here. Eduarda Moura, I had her as the first leg of my 2-team parlay to defeat Montserrat Ruiz. This was a straight up a snag. Okay, I grabbed Moura early on in the week at -425. We saw her balloon all the way up almost as high as a -700 favorite. Now, that had something to do with her missing weight and kind of in a beneficial way when you saw them staring at each other at the stare downs. Moura was massive. I already knew she was going to be much bigger than Ruiz. We talked about that. But not only was she going to have that size advantage, there was going to be a major difference in striking and grappling. Anywhere this fight was going to go, Moura was going to have a major advantage, and I felt extremely confident in that. Okay, so again, when we talk about -425s, there's a difference between -425 here in this spot compared to some other -425 traps that we've seen. I felt very confident, and with a fight like this, there wasn't that many mishaps that could have went wrong for Moura. I mean, maybe some of you guys were worried she would gas out, but even then, Ruiz's striking is horrendous. I just didn't see that avenue of defeat coming, and you guys know, if you saw my bet write up, which I'll have posted right here, I was sensing that finish coming. I thought we would probably see a rear naked choke or something like that, but Moura just completely nullifying Ruiz down in the mat and using the ground and pound. Absolutely dismantled Ruiz, manhandled her, completely controlled this fight. I wasn't even sweating. What a beautiful leg. And again, if you guys saw what I said on IG, I said this play was going to be a walk in the park. The other leg, not so much a walk in the park, but a 30-27 unanimous decision on at least one of the judges' scorecards. Okay, so in the next fight, Angela Hill, just showing that she is not aging, went out there and did what she does when she's hitting on all cylinders, right? When she really shows up and she's hitting on all cylinders, she'll go out there and she'll outpoint some of the best fighters in the world, outclassing the youngster Denise Gomes. Angela Hill, a little bit up and down at times with her performances, but I would say the vast majority of her performance have been solid, and shame on me for going against her here. I should have known the crafty veteran was probably going to get the job done. You guys know I've been kind of high on Denise Gomes based on her last couple performances. She really shows to have some promise. She's tough, can crack. But, wanted nothing to do with that as far as official action goes. And in retrospect, I probably should have sided with the dog Darren Hill. But, we just stayed away, and hopefully that didn't cost too many of you guys money out there. In the next fight, Vitor Petrino gets the knockout over Modestas Bukauskas. Remember what I said, right? I said Vitor Petrino is the truth. I did put a lot of respect on Bukauskas' name, and I still do. But again, run the tape back. remember what I said as we closed out that segment. Vitor Petrino is the truth, and I expected him to get that knockout. That's what we called that knockout early on too. So the line a little high. I don't know. I stayed away from it. Again, you guys know I have action on every single fight, but no official plays, no real action going on there. I did take Vitor Petrino, a little money on him for fun as I'm watching the fight, but I wanted that line a little bit lower. Again, I do respect Bukauskas, but Vitor Petrino is showing that he can do it all, and he specifically can knock people out. Remember what I said? I said he's already had a decision victory. He had a submission victory, and I said that knockout had to be coming in the UFC because that's what he does best anyway. That's exactly what happened there. And the next fight, Rinat Fakhretdinov, a fighter I'm very high on, had a great start to the fight, but slowed down, got 10-8'd in the third round. It was a majority draw. I didn't have an issue with it. I mean, you could have argued he maybe still should have won the fight 29-28, but Zaleski did some good damage there. It's one of those rounds, right? It can go 10-8. That was a round that could have gone 10-8, and props to Zaleski for showing how crafty and how tough he is. We talked about him, right? He's a proven fighter. And I think that was a high-caliber fight there, and Zaleski shows that he's just not slowing down. Great cardio, outpaces Rinat Fakhretdinov. And we're going to talk about Rinat here in a second as we move up the card, because there's a potential fight that could be made with him in it next, or coming up here as we go to the top of this card. Not here, though. Elvis Brenner gets a crazy knockout over Krzyzewski, who took the fight out on short notice. A phenomenal striker in his own right, got clipped. And that could have been a little bit of a case of a fighter in Kainan Krzyzewski, who has had a lot of maybe wars in the gym. You know, he's been training and striking for a long time. I don't know. I mean, you guys know how it goes, though. If you get clipped in the side of the head, you know, above the ear, around the temple area, it could really knock your equilibrium off. But that was a little bit of a weird one, right? Just grazed him and just flattened him out roughly there. I wonder how many times he's been hurt in training and whatnot. He seems to be a fighter that probably trains hard. But Elvis Brenner, all right, you guys know I like Brenner, and now initially Brenner was supposed to be taking on, Esteban Ribovics, which I was still on Brenner, and we had the new matchup there during the week. But I told you guys, Brenner is the truth. I like him. All right, so this was the other leg of the parlay here. Caio Bahayo takes out Abes Magomedov. Check the bet right up again. Abes, a talented fighter early on, but like I said, I think he's a paper tiger. This is a guy that has major cardio issues, and I think that Caio actually let him survive in there. He kind of played with his food, because if Caio would have just pushed the pace really, really heavily early on in this fight, Abes would have absolutely broke down, and he almost did break down in the third round and almost was finished. But Caio, a very defensive fighter, you know, he played it intelligently, played it safely. And you see, I wrote that in the write-up. That's something he does very well. He stays out of harm's way. He's a very cerebral fighter. That's why I liked him here, especially at the line that it was. I felt very confident he would have got the job done. But if we wanted to see Caio get the finish, he could have really pushed the pace, would have put himself in a little bit more danger. But Abes would have broken down for sure. And he will break down in future fights again. We saw it in the Strickland fight. We saw it in the third round here again, and he was almost finished. And I think Caio kind of let him off the hook. 30-27 for Caio on one of the judges' scorecards. Other two judges had it 29-28. An easy victory for me for my 6.5 play. Should have been an 8 max play. I was thinking of adding another play that I ended up staying away from, and in retrospect, I would have made this an 8 play, but still a very big play for me. A 6.5 play is a hefty play for me. Played this card very safe. I played it like Caio. Played it intelligently, and just walked away with the bag there. Caught the line combined at -143. That's a solid line. For those of you guys that think you're too good for these types of plays and want to mock it or whatnot, okay, you guys do what you do. You know, I'll sit here. I'll use my experience to snag up money as we go into UFC 295, where I'm going to have a crazy amount of plays, or I'm going to have a crazy amount of units up. So just got more units to work with there. So I'm really feeling good about where we're at. Rodrigo Nascimento gets the unanimous decision. Slowed down a little bit later on, but looked very good early in the fight. And Dontel Mays, showing that he's working on things. I like his toughness, but he might be on his way out of the UFC maybe after one more loss or whatnot. We'll see how his career goes. Rodrigo Nascimento calling for big plays and saying how he only has one more fight left on his contract. The way that the fight ended for him, it wasn't the greatest look. Again, started off good in the beginning, but slowed down a little bit, and I'm sure Dana White was kind of laughing at that. He needs to show a little bit more out there. Nicholas Dalby with the upset of the card. You guys know I've been very high on Gabriel Bonfim. Another Bonfim brother takes an L early on in his career. I still think that both the Bonfim brothers will bounce back and they'll have solid careers in the UFC. But yes, another learning experience for them. They're taking the L. Gabriel looked amazing early on, inflicted a lot of damage on Dalby. Dalby's just so durable, so crafty though. And then it just out cardios. Bonfim breaks him down, gets the finish. Dalby's calling out for top 15 opponents. I was saying, I'm thinking Rinat Fakhretdinov, a very tough fighter. That's a fight that somewhat makes sense. I know that's Renat's coming off a draw, but he still has a very respectable name. Otherwise, if you want to get crazy, I don't think it's realistic. But Dalby's a fringe top 15 fighter. He's working on busting into the top 15. He wants a top 15 fighter. A lot of the top welterweight fighters already have matchups. I would have loved to seen him against Vicente Luque. Luque's already fighting Ian Machado Gary, his fellow teammate. Brady's going to be fighting Gastelum. A lot of these guys are all tied up. Thompson and Rachmanov, Colby and Edwards, of course. I mean, that's towards the top of the division. That's irrelevant. But you can throw him in there potentially with a Jack Della Maddalena if the UFC wants to go that route. I'm not sure if the UFC would rather give Jack a bigger fight. You could throw Dalby in there with a Kevin Holland. These are all like fringe, top 15, in the top 15 fighters. Holland's coming off a loss, though. I don't know if they want to do that. And then, like I said, you got Rinat Fakhretdinov, another fringe top 15 type of fighter there. So Jeff Neal also coming off a loss. These are the type of names you could potentially see Dalby in there with next. And I think it's deserved to get a recognizable name after that performance. He's an older fighter, but he says that all his specs on his heart rate and all this and all his conditioning is as good as it's ever been. And I believe it. All right. And then in the main event, we had the snooze fest of Jailton Almeida and Derrick Lewis. I was jumping off the edge of my seat every time Lewis was throwing those uppercuts. Those moments were very short-lived, but when he was throwing those uppercuts and was on his feet, almost clipping him with those knockouts, just missing. But if if he clipped him, it would have hurt him. But it just, the majority of the fight, Almeida just sitting on him and not doing any damage. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. Cruz articulated it very well during the broadcast. I know why Almeida was scared to throw a lot of volume and try to beat Lewis up. He felt that he wasn't going to get the finish down there, and he didn't want to gas himself out and give opportunities for Lewis to explode and get back up to his feet and then face off against that danger of Lewis on the feet. So Almeida just, he showed his true colors. And he's still a very talented fighter, and he could use his grappling to get wins off a lot of guys in the division. But you guys are going to see the real up-and-coming heavyweights, or I shouldn't say up-and-coming, but, the new blood of top-tier heavyweights this upcoming weekend, which you guys can see my full UFC 295 prediction video on the channel here already now. But when you're talking Sergey Pavlovich, Tom Aspinall, these are fighters that would give Almeida a very hard time, and I have them above Almeida. I think they're just a notch above Almeida. And of course, Jones, even Miocic, I think would get the better of an Almeida because he's not holding him down like that. And I think that Almeida showed, he's a high-level BJJ player, but he couldn't figure this puzzle out, really. I mean, I guess some of you guys can argue he did, but that his stock goes down from this fight. It's not a good look for him, and it was a snooze fest. And Derrick Lewis, nothing but love to Derrick Lewis, man. He's a stud, and I hope he gets a big fight again moving forward. I want to see Derrick Lewis facing off against Jairzinho Rozenstruik next. That'll be a great fight. We'll see him sleep Rozenstruik most likely. And then Almeida, I'm saying you throw Almeida in there against Curtis Blades, a fighter that actually knows how to grapple a little bit, or a lot of it, and can really test him on the feet as well. So that's what I want to see there. Tell me if you guys agree. Tell me if you guys disagree with the matchmaking. Comment below. I want to know what your bets were, where you cashed, where you didn't cash, what you thought of this entire card. And again, UFC 295 is already up here on the channel. So appreciate you guys. Much love to all of you. And UFC 295 is going to be a banger. Reach out to me if you want to work with me for my official plays. Otherwise, good luck to you guys. And let me know what you guys think below, like I said. All right? Signing out. Teller.
Welcome to the show. This is the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.